Hi, I'm John Carroll. I'm originally from Carroll, Quebec, and I've been collecting since 1985.
Hey John, we were talking about the B&Q patches, and why did Quebec move away from the standard?
I think it was just one of those things that it sort of had done its time. I mean, it came in 1970, and by the late 80s, I guess departments were getting tired of it. So Quebec City decided to break away first and come out with their patch that had their city logo, which was a ship, on it. And then once one department did it, others began to follow. So St. Hubert did it very early on, and then, it was sort of like a waterfall after that everybody was going to something else. So then the Quebec government, I guess, decided at that point they weren't going to enforce it anymore. The garments themselves stuck around a little while longer, because if you recall, not only was the insignia in the law, the garments were as well. So all the jackets were the same, pants were the same, shirts
Hats,
were the same,
everything.
And then they started moving away from that. They started buying stuff from other manufacturers and that. So now nobody is selling that pattern of garment, out of that pattern of jacket or those style of pants and that. The other thing too is that the pants were wool, and nobody wants to deal with wool pants anymore. Everybody wants them to be able to be washed in a washing machine. So it was one of those things that, it sort of just changed with the times. And now, it's an era that it doesn't exist, and it hasn't now for decades. And then, later on, other things started changing. Like, for instance, when I started collecting, there were probably 200 municipal forces in the province of Quebec. Now, you're down to less than 50. And because of mergers and the Quebec Provincial Police, it's Quebec taking over so much of the territory. So everything has evolved, for better or for worse, over the last, let's say, 30 years, 35 years in Quebec, until we have what we have today.
Right. Now I've got one question for you. B&Q, what does that mean?
Bureau de Nominalisation du Québec, so Quebec Standardization Bureau, and it went even further than police. It produced standards for fire departments, equipment, things like that. So it wasn't simply something that was reserved strictly for police or strictly for police uniforms. It also standardized all kinds of other things throughout the province. But
was it a cost-saving measure, or was it because they wanted to identify?
I believe, because obviously I wasn't collecting in 1970, but they wanted to identify, and I think it was also that at that time they were standardizing the training for officers across the province. Before that, it was, if you were going to be on the island of Montreal, you're going to be trained by the City of Montreal's Police Academy. But if you were going to become a cop in Belleuil, or you're going to become a cop in Mont-Saint-Hilaire, the training was pretty much on the job. They would give you a gun if they had one around, and they would train you on the job. By the early 1970s, or 1970 specifically, they standardized the training for all municipal police across the province after having done so for the provincial police in 1961. So it was all part of that standardization, so that they theoretically the entire province would have the same type of police service available to their citizens as larger metropolitan areas. So people would be trained the same, they would look the same, et cetera, et cetera. So that was, I guess, the theory behind why they wanted to do it. Other places have standardized things, but not to that degree. The only other place I've ever seen when it comes to standardization of uniforms and cars to that degree is with Ohio sheriffs. The Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, I guess they strictly enforce it. There is no variation when it comes to Ohio sheriff's departments. But normally it's sheriff's associations that do that across the U.S. But in terms of police forces, I've never seen anything in all my years of collecting where municipal police forces were standardized to that extent. Wow. But again, now obviously it's a lot different. There's so few municipal forces in existence.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for that information.
No problem at all. It's my pleasure.
And how do you have one other question for you?
Yeah.
Did you pick up anything at the show today?
I think I picked up about 7 patches. There's about maybe 6 more than I thought I would. So today's a good day. Plus, I got to see a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while. So
awesome.
I'll chalk that up in the window.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, John.
Hey, no problem at all.